When we observe hair at the surface, we see only the final product of a microscopic, coordinated network of follicles, blood vessels, and signaling cells. Below the scalp, a healthy root maintains a constant exchange of nutrients to sustain thick, pigmented growth. Hair loss occurs through a biological process called follicular miniaturization. Over successive growth cycles, the follicle physically narrows, producing strands that are finer and shorter, until the growth phase, or anagen, contracts so much that the follicle becomes dormant. This shrinkage is driven by dihydrotestosterone, or DHT. In those with genetic sensitivity, DHT binds to androgen receptors at the root, triggering a chemical signal that constricts the capillary connection and starves the follicle of essential resources. This process is further accelerated by poor microcirculation and the accumulation of oxidative stress, where reactive oxygen species damage the pigment-producing melanocytes and the cellular structure of the follicle itself. Reversing this trend involves a multi-targeted approach using complex plant phytochemicals. These compounds are selected to target the hormonal, circulatory, and cellular threats simultaneously to restore the follicle's environment. Testosterone is transformed into follicle-shrinking DHT by the 5-alpha reductase enzyme, which alters the hormone structure. However, phytosterols from saw palmetto and pumpkin seed oil bind to the enzyme's active site, physically blocking testosterone and lowering the conversion into DHT. Reishi mushrooms provide further suppression through triterpenes, compounds that inhibit the activity of that same enzyme from a different molecular angle. Green tea, containing EGCG, and nettle root provide a secondary defense, disrupting DHT's ability to bind with receptors and neutralizing inflammation around miniaturizing follicles. This combination, saw palmetto, pumpkin seed, reishi, green tea, and nettle root, represents a diverse botanical strategy for managing androgenic activity. These plant extracts focus on localized follicle protection. Unlike high-potency synthetic drugs that can suppress DHT levels throughout the entire body, these botanicals exert a milder, targeted influence that protects the hair without the systemic hormonal imbalances often associated with pharmaceutical interventions. Even with DHT levels managed, a miniaturized follicle remains in a weakened state. It requires an immediate restoration of oxygen and nutrient delivery to resume active growth. Rosemary, used as a water rinse or cold-infused oil, contains rosmarinic acid and cyanol, compounds recognized for their ability to support scalp health. This diagram illustrates vasodilation, the widening of the tiny capillaries beneath the follicle. Rosemary triggers this expansion, allowing a rush of red blood cells to reach the dermal papilla, providing the raw energy needed for the hair to transition out of its dormant phase. We can further stimulate this through mechanobiology. Physical force from a scalp massage translates into biological signals, promoting stretching forces that clinically increase hair thickness. Restoring this blood flow and providing physical stimulation are the necessary secondary steps to reactivate a follicle that has been damaged by DHT. The final requirement is rebuilding the physical hair shaft itself, a process central to the deep traditions of Ayurvedic medicine. Herbs like bringraj, known as the king of hair, and amla provide high concentrations of antioxidants, lowering oxidative stress on the scalp and mitigating inflammation. This diagram shows antioxidants intercepting free radical particles before they can damage the follicle's cellular structures. This shielding effect prevents the premature breakdown of the cells responsible for hair pigment and structural integrity. The Chinese hibiscus contributes to rebuilding by promoting dermal papilla cell proliferation. Rich in amino acids, it supports keratin synthesis. Here, new protein structures link together, creating the core of a newly grown hair strand that is physically thicker and more structurally sound. Common ingredients like fenugreek are often added to these treatments. Fenugreek creates a natural mucilage that moisturizes the hair surface and provides slip for detangling, protecting against mechanical breakage. Protecting the follicle from oxidative damage while providing raw materials for keratin ensures new growth is structurally strong and resilient against environmental stress. Pharmaceutical treatments often rely on an isolated biological mechanism. In contrast, the botanical approach employs a multi-targeted strategy to address the complex nature of hair health. This diagram illustrates how the three biological pathways converge: hormonal defense through saw palmetto, circulatory stimulation via rosemary and massage, and structural rebuilding with hibiscus and bringraj. Because these natural compounds work in alignment with the body's existing growth cycles rather than forcing an immediate chemical change, the process requires patience. Clinical evidence suggests that successful holistic protocols require at least 6 months of consistent adherence before visible changes in hair density can be measured. Restoring hair vitality follows a clinical timeline of recovery, relying on consistent application and the documented biological properties of these plant extracts to restore the scalp's natural balance.